This is the BBQ Central Show Archives. The BBQ Central Show airs live each Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and is brought to you by the BBQ Guru, makers of automatic temperature control devices, and a host of other products that make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit them online at thebbqguru.com or call them 800-288-GURU. And by Big Poppa Smokers, creators of fabulous rubs, online retailer of grills, accessories, apparel, and creators of their own barbecue contests. Visit them online at bigpoppasmokers.com. And by Butcher Barbecue, creators of injections and rubs, sweeping the nation, doing well in competitions and in the backyard. You can visit them at butcherbbq.com. And by Stephen DiFranco Jewelers, official jeweler of the Barbecue Central Show. Call 440-943-2700 and use key term Barbecue Brother when you talk to Steve, or visit them online at StephenDiFranco.com. And by Green Mountain Grills, one of the best pellet grills you can get on the market today, varying sizes, not only for your capacity of cooking, but for your budget as well. Visit greenmountaingrills.com for more information. And by El Diablo Mustard. Looking for a little bit of heat and flavor in regular old yellow mustard? El Diablo has you covered. 6 different flavors to choose from currently, and you can find them at eldiablomustard.com. And by CookinPellets.com. Have a pellet-driven cooker? Why not try out some of the best pellets on the market and will not void any of your warranties, by the way? CookinPellets.com is the website. And by Cookshack, a premier manufacturer of electric and pellet-driven cookers, giving barbecue classes located in Ponca City, Oklahoma. Always running some kind of a special deal. Check them out at Cookshack.com.
Hi, this is Bobby Rempe from Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to Barbecue Central.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central Show. Oh, yeah. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling, broadcasting live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. You want to jump in on the show tonight? More than happy to have you. 216-220-0966. That is the phone number. Email address, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Your email address, everything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening. All right, come on over here. Sorry. Kiss the girl. Breaking, as a matter of fact, this guy says it best.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
Thank you, news guy. Greg Rempe reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios. And tonight finds this show at a 60-minute clip. That's right. So, if you're expecting 2 succulent hours of the show tonight, that's not going to happen. I do have a full 60-minute show locked and loaded. Right, so for everybody that's got to go to bed early like you normally do, or you cut out after the first hour, don't feel sad. Don't feel like you're being relegated to the woodshed, anything like that. Due to circumstances beyond my control, 60 minutes is your show tonight. We'll make sure we get in all the reads, all that good stuff, of course. But we do have 2 great guests locked and loaded for you tonight, the first of which finds him making his monthly appearance on the show the first Tuesday of every month, is Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. That's right. You know, when I say the first Tuesday of every month, do you realize it is September? Wait, no. It is November already? Days from now, it's going to be raining down snow at a fevered pitch. Yikes. Who else is ready for winter? For people that have the geothermal changes, better known as seasons, who's ready for the cold weather? The Old Farmer's Almanac has this coming winter slated to be worse than last year. It was the worst last year. Like the worst. I don't remember a winter on record that was any worse than what we went through last winter. It seemed like it was 7 months long. Snow and single-digit temperatures. Some days started out below zero and didn't get above zero. They just went farther below. This winter promises to be even worse than it. So much so that this coming weekend, folks, I have an announcement to make. For the first time in my life, I'm going to be buying a snowblower. Right. If nothing else, to ward off the heaping helpings of snow that might find its way on my driveway. What's the old saying? You buy a snowblower, it's never going to snow again. Guess what? I'll take it. Thank you. Let's never have it snow again. Could be the best $600 I ever spent if we never have snow to move over the winter. Oh, my God. Nevertheless, here's what's coming up in about 10 minutes from now. Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue. That's right. I said it before. I'll say it again. I've just said it again. Coming up at 9:35, one of the most prolific competition barbecue teams on the circuit this year, but have been probably for well over a decade, the pitmaster of QUAU, Mike Wozniak, will join us. Catch up with Mike. Get a little recap of the actions that went down in the good old Laughlin, Nevada contest, the Great American Barbecue Championship, or whatever it was called, that Ronnie Cates put on. And if I might draw your meager attention to the fact that if we take a look at the Laughlin, Nevada event that took place this past weekend, I might draw your attention to the fact that last Tuesday I had the current reigning 2014 Jack Daniels champion Darren Worth of Iowa Smoky D's on the show to recap. Oh, yes. Go back and get it if you missed it. It was classic. He promptly told me that he had just got done trimming his chicken for the Laughlin, Nevada event, which he promptly went out and won. I don't know how it happens. It just happens. Pitmasters show up on this show on Tuesday. They go to the next event that they're cooking over the weekend. 4 days later, they come back and they win. I've proven it time and time and time again. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't not happen. You come on the show, you help me out, good things happen. I can't believe that I don't have a standing list or a standing request from pitmasters that are out for the first time or the 700th time or whatever, looking to get the show karma. Darren does the show this past week ago tonight, shows up in Laughlin over the weekend and wins. Not only does he win the event, no, he wins a freaking Camaro. What? Darren, I don't want to say that the show helped you win the Camaro, but perhaps you want to chip me off 25% on retail, pal. That's safe, I think. That's pretty meager chip-off, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, 2 weeks in a row. $2,000 in a row. 2 weeks in a row, $2,000 in a row. Who's doing that? Darren Worth is from Iowa Smoky D's. That's right. As a matter of fact, we should go ahead and race right over to the good old Kansas City Barbecue Society Top 10 and give you the top 5 as they sit in order. Currently still atop Warren County Pork Choppers. With their 2 wins in a row, Darren Worth, Iowa Smoky D's, now sitting in second place. Tim Grant, True Bud, third place overall. Smoke Me Silly and 1-2 BBQ rounding out your top 5 in the FBA. Wow. So don't you, not you, but especially you, don't you go and tell me, how can you say, what is this show karma? Who are you to say this or that? I don't say anything. All I know is that I sit back, I host a moderately to somewhat entertaining show on barbecue and grilling every week here from the confines of the interwebs in my basement with fresh mahogany walls and nice spotted lights. Pitmasters show up to talk about what they did over the past weekend. Oh, are you cooking this weekend? Yes, and then inevitably they turn around and win. I mean, I'm merely stating factual content. That's all I'm doing. I'm merely stating factual content. People show up here on this show. They do the show. They summarily go out the next weekend and win. That's just the way it is on the show. That's just the way it is. All right, we are getting ready to take a first break. Let me talk to you quickly about Fast Eddie's by Cookshack. That's right, folks. Fast Eddie's, a pellet grill, a smoker, all in one. It is a stainless steel, 100% wood-burning pellet-fired cooker that uses direct and indirect heat up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the only pellet grill on the market that uses charbroiler technology. Features electronically controlled temperature to eliminate large heat fluctuations that dry and shrink the meat. The pellet grill can barbecue, grill, bake, roast, sear, and smoke. Cookshack has 2 models of pellet grills to choose from. The PG-1000 features a fully insulated double-walled roll hood for superior heat retention, fuel savings, and maximum cooking performance, and the PG-500 features a 2-way swing lid and utensil holder. The PG-500 and 1000 have many great features, including 784 square inches of cooking space, easy side-loading pellet hopper, fully automated wood pellet feed system, stainless steel cooking grates on the direct zone side that produce killer-looking sear marks, nickel-plated grills on the indirect and top racks, drip bucket, pellet ashtray, 100% stainless steel construction, warming drawer, 40 pounds of Cookshack hickory pellets, and a 30-day money-back guarantee, which means all you have to do is cook your ass off on it and face for 30 days and then decide, I don't like it, and then you send it back and you get all of your money back. Who's doing that? Nobody. Nobody's going to let you take a grill, cook on it for 30 days, and then bring it back and get your money back? Hogwash. These are versatile pellet cookers that add full flavor to your recipes, including fajitas, ribs, chicken, steaks, desserts, sides, large cuts of meat, and can do it all, including cold smoking. Grilling with wood pellets penetrates the food with an intense smoky flavor. When you cook with wood pellets, the fuel is consistent, the smoke more flavorful. For recipes and how-to videos, check out Cookshack's YouTube channel. For more information, you can find it on their website devoted to pellet grills called pelletcooker.com. That's pelletcooker.com. Or call Cookshack 800-423-0698. Do yourself a favor. If you've been thinking about wood-fired, pellet-fired cookers, give Cookshack first consideration. Cookshack.com is their main website. 800-423-0698 is the phone number. You can speak to one of their friendly sales associates, experts. Let them know you listen to the show. Let them know that the show encouraged you to stop over and see what's happening. Ask about the PG-500 and the PG-1000. You'll be happy to do. Pelletcooker.com is the website that talks about all of those cookers. Fast Eddie's website, if you will. Pelletcooker.com, Cookshack.com, and 800-423-0698. Dr. Barbecue, Ray Lampe, is up next.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. 216-220-0966. Greg at the BBQ Central Show.com. Your 2 bits of contact information. Don't forget, coming up at about 22 to 3 minutes from now, Mike Wozniak from QUAU. We'll be discussing a little bit of that Laughlin, Nevada event, catching up with him and see how the 2014 season is treating him. Pretty good, I might add. And first and foremost, let me get this loaded. We will do this.
Have you got questions about barbecue or grilling, maybe as a hobby or even a business? Looking to get an expert's point of view? Why not ask Dr. Barbecue? You can submit your questions by clicking on the Ask Dr. Barbecue tab on the website. The doctor is in. Here's Ray Lampe with his nurse, Greg Rempe. Dr. Barbecue.
That's right. It is the Dr. Barbecue segment. And joining me is Hall of Famer Ray Lampe. Ray, how are you, bud?
I'm good, Greg. Good to hear you.
It's, I think, for me, it's neat to say, and joining me this time is Hall of Famer. I can just say that every time now, right?
It's kind of nice to hear, too.
Yeah, I bet it is. Ray Lampe joining us. drbbq.com is the website if you want to check him out here while we are talking this evening. Ray, lots to get to tonight. We got some Facebook stuff that has popped up that we're definitely going to get into, and some other items. Things that I want to ask you about would be, and we've asked about it the last couple times on, but it's a concept that I think was unique, and I don't know if we can say that you're one of the originators of what is now the hotbed of barbecue cooking classes. You were, one of the originators of the cooking class, but you kind of stepped it up and gave people an online option, not competition per se, but how to better up your barbecue, if you will. So how is the online barbecue classes going right now?
It's going good, actually. It's going real good. The first quarter, I just got the report from the first quarter, and it was really good. I mean, it's a beginner thing. It's not like these competition classes. I don't know that, gosh, those things change overnight, I don't know if you could keep up with a competition class. This is something to teach guys at home how to cook barbecue. And actually, there's a couple of smoked turkey ideas on there, too. So, yeah, it's going really good. I'm really proud of this thing. And it's through a company called Craftsy, craftsy.com. I set up my own page to link to it just to kind of, I don't want to say disassociate, but Craftsy is very much about knitting and sewing, but they're really doing a lot of culinary stuff now. But it's not, the barbecue thing still is kind of unique to it. So I set up a different page to it. But Craftsy is kicking ass, man. They're doing, if you're interested in all kinds of cooking, you should go look at that, because there's all kinds of people doing classes. I mean, names that you've heard. They're grabbing people that know what they're doing in every category. It's really cool to be part of. And I think it's going to be a big success further down the road, too.
Ray Lampe joining us here on the show for Ask Dr. Barbecue. We were corresponding a little bit earlier today, and lo and behold, you dropped this mother of all beef tales on me, and you were at an Egg Fest, which obviously you're still the corporate chef for Big Green Egg, had a long alliance and partnership with them. And you're telling me, ask me about 69 pounds of beef roast. And I'm like, well, that was obviously a misprint. 69 pounds of beef roast?
Yeah. It's called
one hunk?
One piece, yes.
Oh
and I actually didn't want one that was too big. They come bigger. When I was in Canada, remember when you saw those bacon-wrapped alligators and all that stuff we were cooking this summer? A guy from England, Andy Annett, cooked a 86-pounder. But I wasn't sure the 86-pounder would fit in the double X egg, so I requested a 70-pounder, and the 86-pounder might have fit. I wasn't sure, but I had the double X egg at Eggtoberfest, and I wanted to cook something really impressive. And I just thought, because everybody wants to talk about a pig, but the thing is, it's round. It doesn't really work. I saw those guys up in New Hampshire cooked a pig on it, and it's cool. I mean, it's nice to cook a pig on a green egg, but they had to curl it up like a dog. And the last picture I saw of it looked like the back was kind of broke, and it didn't look that cool. The 69-pound beef roast looked as cool as hell. it was just a gigantic leg of beef. It's like a thigh. It used to be a real common, like a buffet at a hotel cut. They remember the guy would have the bone and slice the thing. And you rarely see the bone anymore. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, but you rarely see the bone anymore. But so I got this thing, and when my friend Chef Eric from Orlando got it for me, because you can't just go in the store and buy this thing. And it showed up, and it's 69.5 pounds or something. We put it on the egg and cooked it for 10 and a half hours. And I sliced it at Eggtoberfest. You always try to one up the guy next to you at Eggtoberfest, and it was pretty hard it's going to be hard to one up me after that. I had a carve, but I was hesitating carving it because I knew there was going to be a line. I was just going to have to carve the whole thing. I had to carve straight through like for a whole hour to carve the 70-pound beef roast. And we sent the bone home to the marketing girl's dog. He's a giant lab, and I'm sure he was happy.
Oh, I bet he was. Ray, so let me ask you two questions. One is Eggtoberfest, I guess, for the people that maybe are new to barbecue or they've been thinking about a big green egg or something like that. What is Eggtoberfest, and how did that genesis come about?
Well, it started, Big Green Egg has always had this quirky reputation, and it started with a handful of guys. I think this was the 17th or something like that. They went to a bar, or no, I think they did it at the store, or maybe it was at a bar. There was one of them 57th Fighter Group kind of restaurants in Atlanta, right over where Big Green Egg was. So they all met over there and brought a Big Green Egg and cooked, and they called it Eggtoberfest. And they had another one, and then it grew to where it was too big for that restaurant at like 300 people. I may have the beginning of it wrong. I apologize to the guys that started it. There may be a little bit more to that story that I'm blowing, but it has grown rapidly. And then they had it at the Big Green Egg facility in Tucker, and it got to about 1,500, and it was too big for that. Then they moved it over to Atlanta Motor Speedway in between two garages, and it got up to about like 5,000.
Really?
And they had the opportunity to move it to Stone Mountain. They always wanted to. They had the opportunity to move to Stone Mountain, and they did. And now it's about 4,000 or 5,000, and I don't know that it'll ever get bigger or should. But it's like returning to the mothership is what we call it. It's basically 5,000 people that show up to stand around and look at the green egg, which they all have one at home already, and talk about it, how cool it is, and cook stuff and eat stuff. And that's basically it. There's no real purpose other than just hanging around. But it's a beautiful day, and it's a lot of fun.
And this is a spirit which is caught on, and so not only is there the mothership Eggtoberfest is the one you're talking about, but people that are fans of the Big Green Egg or other barbecue communities across the country that are devotees or fans of the egg itself have started their own Eggtoberfests, and they range across the country.
Yeah, I think there's like 30 some of them now. There's going to be a big one in Melbourne, Florida. There's a dealer, Wasis Meat, that took that one over, and they are going to really step it up I think it's in March in Melbourne. If you're looking for an excuse to come to Florida in March, come on down. It's going to be fun. I think there's like 35 of them around the country. What kind of
an active interest does corporate Big Green Egg have with that, if anything?
Not much. They offer some guidance, but I think kind of the beauty of it is everyone kind of has a life of its own, and it happens locally and it's organic. I'm sure that because we've got distributors. There's distributors around the country, so there's always a local distributor, and they are involved with most of them. But everyone seems to have a little different life of its own. I try to go to as many as I can, but I can't. I can't spend my whole year going to. Not that I would mind, but I can't really go to Eggfests all year. I've probably been to 20 of them over the years that weren't Eggtoberfest.
Can somebody approach you, or have you ever been approached to come out and do an appearance at Eggtoberfest? I mean, you got to be one of the more recognizable names that go along because of the long relationship that you've had with the corporate side.
Yeah, I mean, I go every chance I get. Every dealer can request me through the distributor. Big Green Egg pays me to work with them. Problem is, I'm almost impossible to get, and everybody knows that. But the good ones stay with me and keep bugging me and keep a good relationship open. And when the opportunity comes, I go. I mean, I certainly like to. It's just, the scheduling is just hard. Like Diane up in New Hampshire at Tarrenton, old friend of mine, and she just seems to happen often that week is available. So I've been to that one 3 or 4 times up in New Hampshire. And I used to go to the original Egg Fest is in Waldorf, Maryland, at the distributor up there. And I used to go to that one every time I could. And I love going to them. Yeah. I mean, anybody who's having an egg fest, always give me a call. The problem is it's like I'm available, except I'm almost impossible to book.
Exactly. Ray Lampe joining us here on the show for the monthly Ask Dr. Barbecue segment. The other thing I wanted to hit on quick before we get into the Facebook questions, Ray, is I think it was either the last time you were on or maybe it was the time before you had just gotten through an appearance on The Talk, showing them maybe it was tailgating stuff or whatever the hell you were doing, but you've already been on again. So now you are 2 stops into The Talk. You're like the resident barbecue stud man on The Talk, which is a bunch of broads talking around kvetching, right?
Yeah, does 2 appearances mean I'm a regular? It could be.
Yeah, well, you watch out. Don't take Ask Dr. Barbecue over with those bitches. Forget about it. You stay here.
Leave you, Greg. I tried to get the plug in again. They wouldn't let me. Yeah, they're great. I mean, I was really pleased to get that call again. The original thing came through the National Pork Board when I was promoting the Pork Chop book, and they called back and they were doing I don't know if you saw it there. It's on my website, the second appearance. They were doing it's CBS and they're the home of Thursday Night Football. So Thursday they're having somebody on to do a tailgating thing every week. And they said, hey, call that barbecue guy again. And I went and it's a great gig. They're as nice as they could be. And the Pork Board loves me going to do it. They help support me on that one. And you actually get paid. I've never done an appearance like that where you actually get paid, but that's even better. But heck, I'd obviously do it for free. So, and they're as nice as could be. It's totally professional. There's every kind of soda you could imagine in the refrigerator when you get there. You got your own dressing room and stuff. It's cool. It's a big time deal, man. Is the studio paying you, or is the Pork Board, or who's paying you to show up? Yeah, the studio. I think it's because it's California. It's you shoot it at the CBS studios on, the place where they do all the CBS shows. Yeah. So it might be a union thing or something. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't ask. I just took the check. Yeah, right. Run to the bank, cash, make sure it doesn't bounce. Everybody's happy, right? Well, I'm pretty sure CBS's checks are good. Yeah. So, my mind is ever wondering about stuff like this. So you get on a show like The Talk now twice. What kind of bumps in any social media or website traffic or book sales spike or anything? What do you see, if anything, from doing hits like that? The first time I was promoting the book, everybody knew that, so they specifically promoted the book, showed it, talked about it, and I saw a bump on Amazon, which you can watch. All authors do is obsessively watch the ratings on Amazon. And I saw a bump there that day, and I know it did help. This time I didn't see anything like that, but I don't follow my webpage traffic specifically day to day, so I don't know. There might have been a bump there. I say this to a lot of guys that one appearance like that, even though as big as it is, it's not that one thing that puts you over the top. It's the cumulative. To go on there 4 times a year would be phenomenal. You never get much from that one thing, but over the course of years, you do enough of that stuff and people start to recognize you, and frankly, you get good at it too. It makes it a lot easier to do. But the one thing is, it's about the same as being on Barbecue Central. So you're meaning it's life-changing. That's all you had. You went a long way to say it's life-changing, but that's fine. I appreciate it. Exactly. All right, Ray, let me you know what? I'm sorry. I completely forgot about this. When you were talking about the 75,000-pound round of beef that you cooked for Eggtoberfest, at 70 pounds, what's the cooking method there? I mean, this isn't like the 2-inch thick cut steak where it was like, wow, I didn't really know. So I was guessing. I asked the hotel chef guy that got it for me. I asked him, I said, I'm thinking about 10 to 12 hours at 275. And he said, yeah, that'd be about right. Because in a hotel, they would cook it in like an Alto Sham, a slow cooker overnight, roast it. And so I was just kind of trying to emulate that. But we got it on a little later than I wanted to. So I wasn't sure. So I bumped the temp up to 300. I put the plate setter in the egg, put the Guru on there, and set it at 300, and which probably cooks a little lower than that because the temp is reading up here. You put the clip up on the temp gauge up there, so it probably cooked about 275. And I left there. We put it on about 8:30 at night, and I got there at 7 in the morning, and it was done. So I made sure to get there at 7 just in case. I didn't expect it to be done. but it was. But you got to remember, it's a beef roast too. I only wanted it. I was hoping to get it off about 130, 135, and I think it was about 140 when I got there. But it actually was great because it rested then from 7 till like 11 when I served it, So, you always the bigger something is, the longer you want to rest it. Well, the 70-pounder needed a 4-hour rest. And actually, it was perfect. It was a little more done than I would have liked, but it was tender and juicy. And, that way you didn't have people saying, well, I don't want the rare piece. And it was definitely not overdone. There was plenty of pink in there. And it was, next time I don't know, I'm guessing it would take about the same time. It was a shot in the dark. I'm glad I went at 7 because if I'd have showed up an hour or two later, it would have definitely been overdone.
Yeah, for sure. Ray Lampe talking with us for the monthly Ask Dr. Barbecue segment. drbbq.com is his website if you want to check it out. I have a Facebook question from famed competition barbecue pitmaster and show sponsor Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue. Really good question, by the way. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it here prior to the show, Ray, but it says, if you had the chance to write a cookbook that wasn't barbecue, what would it be about?
Yeah, that is a great question. Dave's a good old friend, man. I first met Dave when he was first trying to develop the butcher injections, and I got to try some of the original stuff, and we've been friends ever since. He's a good guy. The reality is I have had that opportunity, but not too far off track. I wrote the NFL book, which included salads and sandwiches and oven-baked stuff and soups and chilies and a lot of things that weren't barbecue. So that was my first opportunity to get away from it, which really I enjoyed that because of the diversity. Because I do like to cook besides barbecue. I really probably was a better cook in the kitchen than on the barbecue pit in the early days. So I was really happy to do that. And then pork chop as well is probably half the recipes are grilling or smoking, and the other half are cooked in the oven as well. So I've had the opportunity, but, really neither one of those is too far off track. If I could write, the one thing I like to cook probably more than anything is soups and stews. But I don't think anybody's ever going to hire me to write that book. So I sneak them in where I can. You can always cook a stew or make a chili with some smoked meat. But if I had my choice and I could write one book just that nobody cared about, I would write a book about soups and stews.
Let me ask you something. Staying in the stews vein, at least up here in the Northeast, we're going to start experiencing winter rapidly, probably as early as the weekend. And stew is always associated with the warming, the comfort food and stuff. Do you have a go-to recipe for stew that you would tell people about?
No, I really don't. Because it's funny when I cook barbecue or grilling or that kind of stuff, I always have to measure because I'm writing recipes. So there's a scale and a bunch of measuring cups and tablespoons and stuff in my kitchen because even if I'm just making dinner, before I would throw something in the pot, I'll measure it. Now, I've gotten to where I can pretty much tell you how much I'm going to put, but I still measure it before it goes in there. If I'm cooking a soup or a stew, I really don't. It's kind of like whatever's around. So no, I don't. The one thing I'll tell you, all my soups and stews do end up really heavy on the meat. It's funny how that happens, and there's generally not a lot of green vegetables in there. So they do tend to get extra rich and heavy, but maybe like a beef barley soup, that it's not technically a stew, but boy, if you put too much barley and too much beef in there, it gets to be like a congealed thing. And on a cold day, that's pretty good eating.
Do you have a suggested kind of beef for the stew, or, whatever's on sale is good enough?
I look for something with a bunch of fat in it and bones if you can get it. Bones are hard to come by at the supermarket these days. But always if you're going to make a stock like that, shanks are good. I like beef shank. You see those cross-cut shanks in the store because you'll get this texture to the soup, the collagen. You'll get like a gelatin from the bones and that shank meat, and the soup will just becomes gelatinous and it gets that mouth feel, that like kind of gooey texture to it. And I love that. I just think that's Adam Perry Lang. When I first met Adam, we were talking about something like that, and we were talking about lamb shanks, and he said that's chef food, and I always think of it like that because it's that that cut that everybody walks by in the store, but if you cook it right, it magically makes this sauce around it that that is just not like anything you ever had before.
Ray Lampe is a Hall of Famer. You find him here on this show once a month. His website is drbbq.com. If you have questions for next month, shoot them over. AskDRBBQ.com. That will be December. Oh, my God, the first one. We're already in November, Ray, if you can believe it or not. And as always, I appreciate the time. We'll talk soon.
My pleasure, Greg. Good talking to you.
All right, take care. There he is, Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue. For the weekly Ask... Pete! It's not weekly. For the monthly Ask Dr. Barbecue segment. Always appreciate that. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Poppa Smokers. The one-stop shop for anyone interested in barbecue, featuring comprehensive selections of all American-made grills, spices, sauces, accessories, even a kit that gives you everything you need to make a world-class smoker out of a 55-gallon drum. Big Poppa Smokers has made a name for itself by making an award-winning line of championship rubs. The rubs have won almost every major competition barbecue event, to include the 2012 and 13 World Series of Barbecue in Kansas City, the 2012 and 14 Jack Daniels Invitational, 2013 Kingsford Challenge, 2014 Houston Livestock and Rodeo, and many more to come. BPS also banded together with fellow California-based barbecue rub company Simply Marvelous Barbecue to form what has now become known as the West Coast Offense. Defying conventional wisdom, these two California-based barbecue rubs have cornered the market on competitive barbecue and begun to redefine flavor profiles that competitive cooks from across the country have begun to aim for. They've even created two of their own unique competitions, King and Smoker, which brings the best of the best in the barbecue world head-to-head in a back-to-basics competition. King of the Smoker unique in the fact that contestants may not use any electric devices such as pellet cookers or pit minders. Contestants are just allowed to use charcoal, wood, and their wits to win one of the most high-stakes barbecue competitions around. The other competition that BPS has started is known as the Guinea Pig. That is a cost-controlled competition that helps bring in newcomers to the competitive barbecue world. It also features prize distribution all the way down to 10th place in each category, which helps provide incentive to get new competitors into the world of barbecue. On top of all of that, Big Poppa has created a unique brand ambassador program, the BPS Elite Team, featuring 15 of the best competition teams in the country working together to promote camaraderie, competition barbecue, and to benefit children's charities across the United States. Keep in mind, Big Poppa Smokers has been able to do all of this within only 4 years of being in business, turning the competition barbecue world on its head, creating their own unique competition, becoming a staple of a nationwide restaurant chain, and benefiting children's charities across the U.S. It's just the beginning for Big Poppa Smokers and their website, bigpoppasmokers.com. Check them out. Also, a public service announcement from Stephen DiFranco. That's right. Christmas coming soon, folks. Visit Stephen DiFranco right now, StephenDiFranco.com, 440-943-2700. That's 440-943-2700. And tell Stephen you are ready to make purchases. You want to consult with him, look at the watches, the rings, all the jewelry, all that stuff, StephenDiFranco.com. We'll make sure you're hooked up with exactly what you're looking for, not try and upsell you on anything. Forget about that. Feel confident that Steven is going to take care of you. He's the guy I buy all my jewelry from all the time. Repairs, everything, you name it. You can stop in, see him in person because you're in Greater Cleveland. He would love to do it. Otherwise, tell him your barbecue brother or sister when you call him on the phone, 440-943-2700 or StephenDiFranco.com. We are back with Mike Wozniak right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Ray Lampe, 216-220-0966. Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. Don't forget, we are ending top of the hour tonight. My next guest, a championship award-winning pitmaster, winning competitions too numerous to mention probably at this stage of the competition career. But we race to the hotline and welcome back good friend of the show, pitmaster of QUAU, Mike Wozniak, joining us here on the show. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Greg. How about yourself?
Doing absolutely fabulous, Mike. Appreciate you making time for the show, as always. Have you, made it back home? Are you still kind of in transit after the Laughlin, Nevada event?
My wife and I are holed up in David QUAU from American Dream Barbecue. We're holed up in his casino at the hotel here in beautiful Miami, Oklahoma. Tomorrow we're going to make our way to Springfield, Missouri, and then Thursday we'll do the St. James, Missouri double, and that'll be probably the end of the KCBS competition for the year.
So double, that means 2 competitions back-to-back then?
Yes, it does.
Wow, brutal, right? You're well-seasoned, though, at this point of the barbecue career. You can do doubles every day, probably.
I'd prefer not to. I am burnt out. I'll tell you what, this is the end of a long... We've cooked every weekend since the 1st of March, and I need some time off. I'm burnt out.
What do you think of this Buffalo Thunder casino out there? That's a pretty nice place, right?
Yeah, we had a double contest here in March. In fact, that was our opener. We did a double here, and I think we took a 3rd and a 4th overall. We got a 180 in ribs. It was a nice concept. I think David is planning on doing another double next spring. I don't know if it's confirmed yet or not, but if he has one, we'll be here because he was a great host.
Well, I can't tell you for sure if he has it or not because I have not been asked to come back out and MC. As soon as I hear that, though, I'll let you know, Mike, and then we can firm up plans, and that'll be great. All right, so let me ask you about this past weekend. You were in Laughlin, Nevada, a lot of good teams out there. A hike for a lot of people, I guess, if you're not necessarily West Coast based. And you see this guy, Darren Worth, who the week before wins the Jack Daniels, turns around and now wins Laughlin, Nevada, and a car to boot. He's seeing a pretty good 2 weeks of cooking, isn't he?
Darren's had an excellent year. Actually, about a year and a half. Darren and I started out about the same time. They started out about a year later. And because they're from Iowa and we're from Illinois, we've competed against them for all these years just because of the proximity. And, my wife, she's still a little upset over losing that Camaro by a point, by half a point. But, he deserved it. He cooked very consistent. We had 2 good categories. And what killed us is I overcooked the chicken dark meat slightly, and I definitely overcooked the ribs. They were on the soft side, so we had to cool them off so they'd stay on the bones. But it was probably my mistake that we're not driving that new Camaro.
Aside from the obvious question, is winning a car exciting? Is that something that you are interested in, like getting a car? Or is that something that you're figuring out, hey, we're going to go down there, if we win it, somebody's driving it back? Or, is it not that big of a deal?
No, that would be a very big deal. We won that particular contest 2 years ago, and there was not a car. Last year, there was the first year they had a car for the GC. I think we were 4th, and then this year we were 2nd. And, we've already had figured out Beth would just drive the car home, and Flock won't be. It might take us a week to get home, but we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And half a point, so that's almost like a bigger kick in the ass than it would normally be, right?
Yeah, we've lost by less than that, but that was a lot. You're talking about a $50,000 Camaro, so.
When you look back at the categories, you mentioned chicken and ribs specifically. I think there was a perfect score in there somewhere too. Was that the pork that was perfect?
We had we had a 180 in pork, and then there was the tie in brisket. There's 3 180s. They were all perfect. And in fact, our pork, we were a little, pork's a funny category. Earlier on in the year, we had a 180 in pork in Washington, Missouri, and then 2 weeks later, same exact pork. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And we got a 143 up in Westmont, Illinois. The only difference was judges and judging locations. And same thing here. Last week at the Jack, we won pork in both contests last year at the Jack, in the regular contest and in the Circle of Champions. We were first place. And then this year, same pork. We cooked the same pork, for probably 2.5, 3 years now. And we were 50th. And then we come to Laughlin and we win. And it was, our pull was right on the money, I think. And our slices, I did some, money muscle ends, and a couple of them were just overcooked and mushy. And luckily, I found 6 slices. I could put in the right 6 slices. But, pork, it's either fast or, feast or famine with us on pork. And I cannot give anybody a definite answer on what is the way to do it, because one week we'll win, next week we'll be down near the bottom. It baffles me. I
mean, obviously you're seasoned and you've done it. I mean, if Darren's been doing it for 12 years, that means you've been doing it probably for 13 years. And
14, yeah.
14, yeah. So you win it one week, you get a perfect score this past weekend. As you said, you were 50 spots to the less the week before at the Jack Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a cook, is that just something that you just have to know going in, that this is going to happen on a more or less week-to-week basis? You're going to fluctuate that bad? Or are you just like, man, this is so frustrating to know that it was the same exact thing, and this week it's 50th, and the next week it's perfect score, and I win the whole category?
It is very frustrating, and it seems to happen with us. It may happen in other categories to other people, but for us it's usually pork. Chicken, our chicken scores have been down this year, especially, we led for a long time, and then about June, our dark meat scores just fell off. We do a combination box of white and dark, and we know that was the dark, so we actually, at the Jack, we kind of changed everything up, and we took a third, and we're still playing with our new presentation and new, what we're putting in the box. But brisket, we've been real consistent with. But and ribs, I think we're fairly consistent with. But pork, we're just up and down. And I don't know if that's the nature of pork. Pork to me is the easiest thing in the world to cook. I think anybody should be able to cook a pork butt and get a pretty good product. So maybe that's part of it. Where on any given weekend, somebody's going to end up with some good pork. And then again, we have so many. We cook a lot up in Wisconsin and Northern Illinois, and that seems to where we have the trouble with the scoring than pork. I think there's a lot of you judges up there, and our pork's a little different than other people's. We cook it a little bit differently. Our flavor profile's a little different. But then again, like we go down south, we do real well with it. The 2 years we went to Washington, D.C., we won pork both times there. We won the Jack Daniels last year with our pork. So it seems to me that one category of pork is much more regional than any of the other categories. For instance, I know when we used to go to Georgia, we used to do the best of the best in Douglas. The last year we did it, it was an invitational and open. And the first day we were averaging pork. And the second day, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pull it down and just mush it, because that's what I heard they liked. And I did that. I literally poured juice out of a foil on it and just mushed the pulled part of it. Our slices were the same as they always were, and we got a second place pork.
Wow.
And it was pork that I personally, I don't like this mushy pork. I don't like to see it with all that juice in it, but it did well down there, scored well. So to me, it's a regional thing.
What kind of a flavor profile are you using? Are you using stuff that's popular out there right now, seasoning wise? Do you make your own when you're out there? What's your preference?
I'm one of these guys. I think I've spoken with you about this before, and when I just helped with Scotty's barbecue class, I think, especially on the 2 big meats, that rubs are highly overrated. Something that you're cooking that long, that many hours, a lot of those seasonings, besides the heavy stuff like salt and sugar, especially, that stuff burns off. It caramelizes. The 2 years that we were Team of the Year in pork, all we put on and I literally, a lot of people think I'm lying, but my wife would do, she doesn't lie, she might think I do, but she would vouch for me. All we put on it was kosher salt. And what we did after it was cooked then, that's when we would add the seasoning. Once we got the meat pulled or sliced, that's when we would add their flavors. Because there, you're not going to burn it off or anything. It's going to be there. What you put on there stays there, and it's in the form that it is when it comes out of the shaker. When I shake it on the outside of a pork butt and put it in the cooker for 13 hours, what the bark ends up with is something totally different than what went on it. And when we would do the real slow, we cook everything hot and fast except pork, and we would put the kosher salt on there. We put it on the bottom of the cooker at 210, and I'd put it on there all night long at low temperature. and the bark that came off that tasted like bacon. You know, you got this nice salty, and its fat melts off of it slowly, and you got the pork, and you rip a piece of the bark off of it. It just tastes like bacon. It's just beautiful. So,
I mean, that just seems like so divergent from what everybody would sit here and tell me on a week-to-week basis. Oh, it's this rub or it's that rub, and it's a lot of this and it's a lot of that. But not so much. It's just salt. It was salt for you, and then that was it. And then rub later.
Well,
makes sense to me, right?
It's like we don't sauce anything in the cooker either. When we sauce, it's in a trailer. It's not going back on the heat. We found, because we used to put a lot of honey in our sauce, and we found that when we put it back on, the smoke and heat were really changing the flavor. Like honey, I think agave is a real delicate one. I know some people use that. It's really susceptible to reheating. You change the flavor of it. So we just got away from that. On our ribs, you know, I season those late. Put a little light seasoning on them to begin with, but when they're done is when I season them up again before we take them into the trailer and sauce them. I try to do everything light because now my seasonings are on there and they taste like they came out of the shaker. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that swear by this or that, and I don't find that that's true. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I've done everything a lot of different ways. And like ribs, we used to do this where you put your seasoning on, put it in a plastic bag Friday morning, and you cook it Saturday morning. Well, you open them up, and your bag's full of all this liquid. You're pulling all that natural juice out of the ribs. So we don't touch our ribs until 10 minutes before I put them on. I put them on at 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday. That's the first time I touch them out of the cryovac. I mean, they're already trimmed. I got them trimmed down the sides, fat trimmed off them, but they haven't been touched. You know, we re-vacuum pack them, and we don't touch them until 8 o'clock, right before 8 o'clock. Put them on for a while, smoke them, and then we season them. We give them a little smoke before we season them. We find that works really well.
Mike Wozniak, the pitmaster of QUAU, joining us here on the show. Mike, you're going to be doing the double this coming weekend, and then you said that'll probably be it for you for the year. 2015, a little ways away, not much farther, though, anymore. Do you still anticipate doing as many competitions next year at this point, or do you see that changing at all?
At this point, I don't know. You know, right now I got a bad knee. I'm all busted up. It's been a long season, but yeah, we'll probably start out in March and see what happens, and you know, cook every weekend for a while. We do have a summer vacation plan. About every 5 years, my wife's family, we take a summer vacation in Florida, which that seems like the stupidest place to take a summer vacation, but that's where we're going. And so that'll take like 2 weeks off, but you know, we'll cook and then and see how it goes. You know, this year we started out like gangbusters, and then you know, sort of in the middle of the season, everything kind of fell apart. We're still right up there in brisket. We've got over 2,800 points, which is an extreme amount for a category. But Donnie Bray, the guy's just phenomenal. And he's got way more points. You know, he's got 28, close to 2,900. And so there's no point in us trying to catch him. And so that's why I think after these next two contests, we're probably done. We did get an invite today to the King of the Smoker from Sterling Ball. And so we will go out and do that. I think it's the second week in December. And that's a good one to go to. And that's a little more relaxing. You don't have to worry about prepping any meat or anything ahead of time. It's all there. You show up and do it on site.
Mike, one last question here before I let you go. I appreciate the time tonight. Somebody on Facebook wants to know if it's time for you to pull out the Ragu chicken recipe and share with everybody.
Well, that's probably either Scotty Johnson or Parrothead out of South Dakota, because I've always accused them of putting Ragu. It's got some kind of Italian seasoning in their chicken recipe. And, yeah, it might be time to switch up here and try something off the wall.
All right. Well, we'll see how that works out. Mike Wozniak is the pitmaster QUAU. He's doing a double this weekend. Mike, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Craig.
You got it. There he is, Mike Wozniak. Blake Moody says Mike has forgotten more about competition cooking than I will never know. Let me tell you something. For the folks that have I don't want to say no idea who Mike is, because quite frankly, if you've followed competition barbecue for any amount of time, for any given competition season, you know he's right up there always in the top of each category, typically in the top 20, top 10, sometimes leading the team of the year. He's been a KCBS team of the year. I believe he might have tied for one and then won one outright or something like that. So in the genesis of competition barbecue, QUAU has been one of the top teams for nearly a decade and a half. Not like because they cook a lot, because they win a lot. They win a lot. They've won a lot. Easily one of the most prolific competition cooks that is currently still on the competition circuit, but that you will probably ever see in the course of competition barbecue history. So always appreciate the time that Mr. Wozniak gives to this show. Folks, let me talk to you quickly about the BBQ Guru, longest-running sponsor of the show. It's automatic pit temperature control devices, right? So if you don't want to tend to pit temperatures, none of that stuff, you go to thebbqguru.com or you call them, 800-288-GURU. Ask them questions that you have. If you want cookers, look for the Onyx oven. Fully insulated, holds a ton of meat, winning on the competition trail and in the backyards. Of course, they're going to work seamlessly with all the other Guru pit temperature control devices that you have, but this is the stuff you want to look at. Party Q, CyberQ, Wi-Fi, a number of other different things to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU or thebbqguru.com. And, of course, I got to talk to you about Butcher Barbecue, baby. Yeah! The new stuff is out. The pork, the open pit pork injection. Hotcakes, baby. Everybody's buying it. You should, too. Of course, you know about the other stuff that Dave has, the beef injection, the prime injection, the pork injection, the bird booster, all stuff available for sale right now at butcherbbq.com. If you're looking for the go-to rubs and sauces, you know you can stock up right here. A full line of award-winning rubs and sauces. Everybody knows I love the honey rub. Give me a 5-pound bag. I'll make it work all day. It's 50% of the North Coast offense, which I've only named because I'm the only one that uses it, and I live on the North Coast. Nobody else can say that. Honey rub is 50% of the North Coast offense. I'll talk to you about it offline if you ever want to know. It'll charge you a price. If you inject with Butchers, use the premium rub. Formulated to work with that injection. Perfect 1-2 punch to impress judges and friends alike. And then, of course, the sweet barbecue sauce. I've drank it here on the show right out of the bottle when I first got it because it was that good. You're going to want to buy 6 because they're going to go fast. No worries about breaking the bank on shipping either. Items totaling up to $55 ship at $8.50. Between $55 and $200 ship at $9.75. Or just save yourself the shipping costs. Order $201 worth of products and it all shipped for free. If you have any questions, Dave is there to help you out. He's going to help you with the backyard stuff. Maybe if you have some questions about competition, he may or may not answer those questions. But typically he does. He's a good guy. ButcherBBQ.com. That's ButcherBBQ.com for all of the stuff, all the injections, the rubs, the sauces. You'll be happy that you stocked up. Trust me. Send me an email. Tell me I'm a liar. We'll fight. I'll see you on the street. We will fist fight. ButcherBBQ.com. Always trust your butcher. We're back to wrap up the show right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, we are back. Somebody in the chat room, Blake Moody, I think Mike has won every category in the KCBS at least once. I believe that to be exactly true. I believe he's won Team of the Year twice as well. Tied with, I think one year he tied with Mike Davis of Lotta Bowl, and then either won it outright the year before or won it outright the year after that. I could be mistaken. Or did Tuffy Stone tie with Mike Davis that year after? There was a tie one year, and then the next year there was one. I mean, these are some of the best cooks ever. The Mike Davis from Lotta Bowls. Mike Wozniak and Beth Wozniak, one of the most prolific teams out there, of course. So when he's out there talking. I mean, did you hear what he was talking about with the seasonings and what he does and when he doesn't use it and when he does use it, more importantly? You think I'm going to cook my ribs different next week? You're damn right I'm going to cook them different next week. No rub until 10 minutes before they hit the deck. That's right. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up. All the way back about 35, 40 minutes ago, we talked with Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe, recapped some talk stuff that he did. He's back on there again. Go to drbbq.com. You can check out that segment on his website. And he also talked about some book stuff, things he's got coming up, the online barbecue classes from Crafty, Artsy, one of them, Crafty. I don't know. I'll find out. I'll put it in the show notes. Also, we ended the first hour /show with Mike Wozniak, pitmaster of QUAU. You can follow him on the Facebooks. Of course, you have to follow him at Beth Wozniak, which is the wife. She's the social media guru of the family. If you have raw cast iron, re-season it each and every time. Once you are done with it, heat it up, hit it with the grill brush, let it start to cool back down, as it does. Little Pam, little Crisco, right? Let it burn back in. Season it each and every time for generations of rust-free service. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Abbreviated show. We'll be back with the full 2 hours next Tuesday. But until then, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.